this character, the first thing I'm going to work on is the hair. So what we need to do is make the hair look like it's dirty and dull, not oily. And the easiest way to do this is just to take conditioner. So take whatever conditioner you normally use, put some in your hands, and then what you want to do is run this through the roots. The ends of your hair, even if they were dirty, aren't going to look the same, so you don't want to drag that all the way down to the ends of your hair. The ends are probably going to end up looking a little bit more fried and dry, so that's what you want to leave and that's what you want to try and replicate. So now that I've run that through the roots, what I'm going to do is separate it into 2 bunches, and I'm going to do the hair up in 2 buns, and I'm going to be using hair sticks just because they're what I normally wear in my hair, and also because they double up as weapons. I'd imagine if you're the kind of person who's crazy enough to hunt creatures with a case of the munchies, you're going to want weapons everywhere, so why not your hair? Towards the end of the tutorial, we're going to rough the hair up a little bit more, but for the moment you can just leave it like this and wait for the conditioner to dry and go crispy. After that, we're going to move on to the brows. So it's the normal thing that you've seen me do 100 times. I'm going to be filling in my brows, but then afterwards I'm going to be drawing in all the little baby hairs. Now you can use an art brush for this, or you can use a nail art brush. They're both pretty much the same thing, they're just marketed towards different people. But they both do the job very, very well. So I'm going to be using the same palette that I normally use to fill in my brows, and I'm going to deliberately make it look as if I haven't touched my brows in weeks, as much as I can. Then we're going to move on to the eyes. What you want to do is use a shade which is a few shades darker than your own natural skin tone, and then we're going to be adding redness underneath and around the eye. So for me, I'll get quite red on the outer corner of my eye, so that's what I'm going to accentuate. I'm also going to add redness around the nose, around the lips later on, but then also what you want to try and do is drag that colour down just from the edges of the cheeks down to the edge of the mouth, and this is just going to aid you a little bit more, make you look more tired. The whole point of this look is to create a character that looks exhausted, who's tired, who's been spending way too many sleepless nights, and also stressed as anything. So that's what we're going to be doing. You're also going to take that redness and you're going to bring it down and try and bring it around where you would naturally have eye bags, all the way down to the tops of the cheeks. This is going to be a very slow process, gradually adding colours, but in the end it really does pay off. You also want to add a little bit of blue on the inner corner of the eye. Now for me, this is where I do tend to get quite a lot of blueness, so that's what I'm going to accentuate. I'm also going to be adding some red around the lips, and I'm going to drag that colour down. We don't want to have any colours going up, which are always going to change the shape of the face for the better. You want to drag all the colours down to try and age it. So it's not going to be aging it an awful lot, it's just going to be those subtle little differences. I'm also going to add some worry lines in between my brows, so just try and frown, and different people are going to frown different ways, so the skin is going to fold in different ways. So you need to adjust this depending on your face or the face of the model that you're working on, and just accentuate those lines. Then with a bronzer powder, what I'm going to do is contour and tan the face, but what we're not going to do is looking for that tan which looks like a holiday tan. This has got to be the kind of tan that says you never applied sunscreen because you were either too busy or didn't have the time to do it, and also you possibly got a little bit sunburnt. Also, don't forget little areas like the ears, the back of the neck. Try and avoid the space directly under your chin, just because that is going to be one of the last areas to get burnt because it's protected by the shadow of your face. But after that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on to freckles. Now my favourite way to create freckles is to layer several different colours, because freckles aren't all one colour, they're always a variation of shades. So start off with lighter browns, then darker browns, and then maybe a few which are a very, very dark brown. I'd imagine if you were living in a zombie apocalypse, sunglasses would be a little hard to find, so one trick you could do is to have any kind of coal or even charcoal around the eye just to help with the sun's glare. So what I'm going to do is try and make it look as if this colour's been applied on the eyes a few weeks ago, but then it's just been left there, and so you've ended up with a bit of a bad case of panda eyes. Now it's great for you if you're trying to get the sun not to be so irritating on your eyes, but it might look a little bit messy and grungy. And you can do this with just a plain black eyeliner, or you could use an eyeshadow. I'm also going to put a little bit of it on the waterline, but not too much, just because it has to look like it's worn away. So once I've put it on the eyeliner, I'm also going to grunge it up a little bit with a Q-tip or a cotton bud. I'm going to go back to the freckles, and I'm going to be using a lip liner, and this one's got more of a pinky tone. This is also a colour that you want to try and replicate if you've got very pale skin. It's not going to have so much of an impact if you've got a tan skin tone or a darker skin tone, but if you've got a very pale skin tone, you do need a few freckles which have that pinky undertone. I'm also going to add a few scars, just because I'd imagine a zombie hunter, especially a seasoned one, would not be in pristine condition. So I'm going to add some scratch marks and then a few burn marks on the cheek and chin. I'm going to mess up the hair a little bit more. Once the Ridgid collodion has dried, I need to add a little bit of colour to the scars. So I'm going to start off with a pink colour, and I'm just going to be using this all over where the scar wax is. Not scar wax, sorry, Ridgid collodion. And then after that, I'm going to be moving on to a red colour. That red colour is going to mainly go around the outside of the scar, but then where I've done that little scratch mark, I'm going to outline where I have the Ridgid collodion, but then try and drag that scratch up a little bit further. And the easiest way to do this is to have a line which gets broken up into very small little lines, like I'm doing here. So around the Ridgid collodion, and then try and drag that colour in a little jagged line. I'm also going to add a fourth one, which isn't going to have any Ridgid collodion, it's just going to be a scratch on the surface of the skin. So I'm going to add that last little red detail around the scars. Then I'm also going to go back to the hair and pull out a few strands just to make it look a little bit more messy. Now moving on to the lips, I want to make them look dry and dehydrated. I've already shown you a few different techniques on how to do this, but today I'm going to show you how to do it using Dermaflage, and this is going to make it look a little bit more 3D. What you want to do is apply a little bit on the upper and lower lip, smile as broadly as you can, and then spread this all over the lips, because that's going to stretch the surface of the skin. And then once you've applied a little bit of powder on top of that, once you relax your mouth, it's going to make the skin bunch together and wrinkle. It's also going to make them look dry as anything, and also a little bit colourless. So I'm going to add some colour on top of that, but I'm going to purse my lips together, so it's going to accentuate the ridges on the lips even more. Going back to the hair, I'm going to take an ordinary powder brush and I'm going to be dabbling some ash powder through the hair. Don't forget things like the bun, where the hair stick is, and also try and get this at the very back of your head, because it's going to look a little bit odd if the top of your head is completely covered in dust and then the back is pristine. Then on the upper and lower lid, I'm going to be applying a little bit of lip balm over that eyeliner to grunge it out even more. Finally, we're going to add a little bit of blood. If you're wondering what I'm dusting on my face, it's just good old blood powder. And what you do is you dust it over where you want the blood, spray water onto it, and boom, you have a little bit of blood on your face wherever you've applied that powder. Now all you need to do is choose your zombie weapon, and that's it. You're done.